I belong to you. I belong to you. Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I'll always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Put you down.
Hey guys, I'm Sai. Welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 121. It is Mother's Day weekend. Let's get ready to talk some football. This show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, your home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please do give us a follow on social media, subscribe to that YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications every time we go live and upload content. I've got some news about that a bit later on for the weekend. And of course you can keep it just football by following at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms. And if you prefer the audio versions of your podcasts, then you can get the audio versions of every show we do, every interview we do at your favourite radio podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, even Audible, where you buy audiobooks. You will find Ace Podcast Nation and the Andy Campbell shows there to download. But just as we do wait for those various platforms that I mentioned to just for the chat to fill up a little bit, a big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever for all their support around the show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages or indeed their website, the links to which are in the description below or at the closing credits at the end of the show. Today's sponsor, as it is every show, is none other than Bespoke Financial. And we are very pleased to have them on board as a partner and a sponsor. Dan Ralston of Bespoke Financial is giving away a free will at the moment worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. So check him out, give him a call. Do not miss out on what is an incredible offer. He's looked after the main man, Mr. Campbell, for various policies over the years, including the critical illness, the injury cover. They are truly top of their field. They provide award-winning service. They're branching out of the northeast. Let's help them do so, because we are very proud to partner with such a top-class brand. You'll see a little ad from them a bit later. And of course, I encourage you to contact them and see if they can do something to help you in these tough times for everyone. And with no further ado, let's get into the show. I am joined as ever by my co-host, the co-host with the most. He is the goal collector, the fox in the box, still the king of the Millennium Stadium, still killing QPR dreams, the speed demon, the goal machine, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Davy Jones' favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, fantastic, mate. Yeah, it's been a long week. Seems like it's been a longer week because there hasn't been much Championship football during the week, so it's still been interesting with a couple of Champions League games, etc. But yeah, it seems like a long week with not a great weekend for my two clubs. So I'm sure we will dig deep on both. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend. There's some big games coming up. Big games.
Indeed. Gavin's having a go at me already. Yes, we like opinions. I love it.
Well, one thing I will
It's
say,
gonna
Si,
be
I'd like to
very
start with
interesting.
get well soon to Joe Bennett. He had his operation yesterday. I think he's using social media to keep people updated and to follow his progress. So he had his operation yesterday, success. So yeah, wish him well, because Joe's a friend, first and foremost. But he's a footballer who wants to get back playing. He'll be a little bit worried because he's out of contract in the summer, but I'm sure that the club will look after him, and he's good enough. If he gets himself fit, he'll either get into the contract at Cardiff City, I believe, or he'll go back to the similar level, if not higher.
He will, mate. He will indeed. He's when he's good, he's very good. I've got to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think since the new manager's come in, I think he's been exceptional. Been one of the standout players for Cardiff, in fact. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But let's have a look. So what we're going to do, mate, just before, as usual, before we get into the Championship, team by team, we're going to do a little bit of chat about other stuff, and tell me why. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, which are neither really Championship related. One maybe Championship related next year. But let's have a little look at these. See what you can give us in 60 seconds.
Go for it.
Okay, so I forgot to get my timer up, which is always handy. The first question, my friend, is sort of Championship related. It is, tell me why it's crazy that Chris Wilder is set to leave Sheffield United, and his time starts now.
Well, I'm very lucky that Chris Wilder was my old manager, so I know exactly how he works, how good he is. So when people talk about him leaving the football club, for me it's absolute madness. They're on about bringing a director of football in and changing the whole dynamics of the football club. Listen, for the position they were in, I think they had 2 points about 6 weeks ago, and look where they are now. They've given themselves a fighting chance. He's picked them up so much. Yes, it does look like they're going to get relegated to the Championship, but they haven't got a big club. They're not a big budget. They relied on supporter side last season. They relied on supporters so much to get them extra points and away fans, home fans, away games, that they relied on upsetting fans and the way that they played, and players respond to that. And this year it just hasn't happened because of, I believe, of that reason. He's got a very good squad, and if he's given time next season, he will take them back up from the Championship. I believe that. You know what I mean? So for me, give him that opportunity. Let him take Sheffield United back to the Premier League, and or let him go upstairs himself and be director of football, and let him work with the manager underneath him, because he is Mr. Sheffield United.
So that was impressive, mate, to do that on the fly, because I don't tell you what these subjects are. So that's impressive. 60 seconds, mate. There's a few issues there for me. There's been rumours of some big issues between Chris Wilder and the club's owner, Prince Abdullah. The owner seems to feel that he gave them some, significant funds for new players. They signed Ryan Brewster, they signed Ollie McBurney over the last couple of seasons. I think, realistically, look, they have spent a lot of money.
Yeah,
but
overpaid on certain players.
It's a lot of money, but to go from a Championship club to a top tier Premier League club, it's probably not a lot of money. But to a Championship club who's just come up, it is a lot of money. And I agree, they probably have overplayed. Like with Ryan Brewster, I think they paid more for his age, and the fact that
I think they also overpaid Si with a player, because would a player want to go to Sheffield United? What's going to entice him there? So you know what I mean. They've got to entice him with something. They've got to entice the club. They've got to entice the player. And I'm not being disrespectful to the club, but they're probably one of the smallest clubs in the Premier League. So they've got to spend that extra bit of money to entice the players there. And unfortunately, that's the way of the world, because Ryan Brewster last year was a Championship player and he did well in the Championship. But
he was, he
hasn't done it in the Premier League. It's so far in his career, he's not done it in the Premier League. So to have that pressure on his shoulder at the bottom of the league,
expecting a lot from him, weren't they?
Yeah, I do feel that, and it's a shame though, because Chris is an excellent person, human being. He's a football man. He's come through the hard way. He's been in non-league football to League Two to all the way up. You know what I mean? He's done it the hard way. So to get where he has now, you know what I mean? He deserves huge credit. I hope he gets that opportunity, because listen, there's people who are currently doing worse than him who are top managers. You know what I mean? Look, Jurgen Klopp. You know what I mean? On paper, not in the league table, but I'm on current form. You know what I mean? So with a better squad. So listen, I think it's a. But you got to give him a bit of slack. But on the other side of the coin, once you fall out with your owner, sometimes there's no going back.
So one of the things I absolutely despise about modern football is the lack of time which is afforded to managers now, or not even necessarily. It's the lack of time, yes, but also it's how quickly the good things are forgotten. So like last year, Sheffield United at one point were talking about Champions League places. Yes, it was a very weird season because of, you know, it went to no fans and lockdown, but you know they were right up there for a long part of the season. This year it hasn't quite worked out. I don't think they'd had a win until November. It was difficult. It is difficult. It was always going to be difficult because other clubs spent money. Other clubs have got better players on paper. They're bigger clubs, like you mentioned. But ultimately, like I look at that Sheffield United club, if they'd kept the majority of those players, they'd walk in that league next year, mate, that championship.
I agree.
Yeah, I look at that squad, and that is far superior to anything in the championship now.
It's short memories.
Together.
It's short memories as well, because not just last season, the season before promotion to the Premier League, the season before that promotion to the Championship. You know
remember,
what I mean?
They weren't favourites to go up.
No,
like
both
in the
times.
Championship, were they?
Both times, by the way. So you know what I mean. I think people have got a very short memory, and I think people need to give him a little bit of slack and understand the job he's done. That you know what I mean. He's having a wobble. He's having a poor season, but one poor season out of 5 doesn't make you a bad manager.
So Will says Chris Wilder did amazing to take a League One players to the Premier League and do so well last season. If he'd have taken them back up if these owners hadn't ruined the relationship. And I thoroughly believe that. I think it's sad because unfortunately what you get is when you have a lot of owners from different parts of the world and different countries, is they don't always understand the football side of things. Yeah. So you do wonder if that maybe they're looking at it from a business point of view. We've spent this amount of money, so we should be top 10 or whatever.
Well, Donna makes a good point about Norwich's manager Farke, that look what he's doing this year. You know what I mean? He got relegated last year. They've stuck by and they give him the job. If he'd have struggled this year, he'd have lost his job. But he didn't. They've stuck by him. The 10 points clear. You know what I mean? It pays off.
Yes, indeed. So I want to ask you this quick question. This isn't the Tell Me Why. I was going to put it in the Tell Me Why, but I didn't want to put another one about sort of Man United about it because I've done a couple of them recently. But I want to ask you this. I saw yesterday that in their first years, or in the time that David Moyes was at Manchester United, in the same time that Solskjaer was there, so his first year, David Moyes' record is far superior to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Solskjaer got given time, and he's improved again this year so far. After finishing third last year, David Moyes, given time at West Ham now, has suddenly turned them into top 4 contenders. Like, do you think that David Moyes could have been a success at Manchester United if they had stuck by him and given him funds and stuff? But also, do you think the only reason Solskjaer had that time is because of who he is?
I'll start with David Moyes. I think David Moyes has learned a hell of a lot from losing his job at Man United. I think he's learned that the way he played and his ideas of tactics wasn't working. He's now playing a pragmatic attacking style of football with breaking, with pace, and that's what he didn't do at United. And I look at United now; that's what they play with, pace. If he'd utilised the pace, he didn't have Greenwood. You know what I mean? Or he was even younger than what he was, so he didn't get the opportunity. Greenwood makes a difference. Rashford now is coming of his age. Martial's performing really well. At the time, David Moyes had Wilfried Zaha, who was feeling the pressure of joining a big club and didn't really cut it at a big club at the time. So I felt for him, but his record was very good. You know what I mean? He just didn't have the Europa League to fall back on that year, which Ollie's got, and Ollie's got an easier league, or an easier cup competition, to fall back on, which he's got an opportunity to win. Yes, they might go out because they drew yesterday against one of the biggest clubs in the world, but I do believe, but I will answer the question now. I believe he has kept his job because of the person he is, because I think Sir Alex has does have a big say so at that football club, and because Ollie is a club hero, cult hero, a legend, he's been given more time than anybody. But listen, it's about results, it's about trophies, it's about end of seasons, and for me, Man United have got to win something this year. They have to, for the position they're in now. They've got to achieve something. You know what I mean? Because for me,
what tournaments are they left in?
Is Champions League enough? Champions League qualification enough?
No, I don't think it is. I think they need something. But I was just thinking, what are they left in? They're in the Europa League. They could beat Milan. Like from what I saw of Milan, I think with a full strength team, United would probably beat them in the second leg, or they're capable of doing it.
They're capable of, yeah, but it's going to be tough though, because they've got to go there and score now. So they've got to go there and get a positive result.
But does that suit? Like Milan, I'd think will want to win. They'll come out and play a certain way. Like they'll try and win the game. Zlatan's back. I wonder whether they might fall into Solskjaer's hands. Like what Solskjaer wants is for Milan to attack, and then that with his full strength team that plays perfectly into how he likes to play. Yeah. So if Milan sit back, there's two sides to it. If Milan sit back, which they could because they got that away goal, it doesn't suit Solskjaer's tactics, but it puts a lot of pressure on Milan, doesn't it? Where you're saying we're going to bank on one goal.
Well, the thing is, though, they're not.
Listen,
Milan 2021 aren't good enough just to sit and defend for 90 minutes because people knock on the door because Man United have got the players to unlock that door.
Wiggy Kipper says, "Si, where can I get one of those cups from?" So, this particular cup is just a one that I had made. However, the merch store is being relaunched probably Monday, and there's some mugs in there, I know, and there's some other stuff. The reason they all got taken down is because I didn't like the fact that the prices were all so high. It was out of my hands because it's like a drop shipping thing. So I had a bit of an argument with them. So they brought the prices down pretty much as low as they can get them. So we're going to relaunching all that on Monday, it should be, which has got all sorts of hoodies and jackets and mugs and cups for this show, the Danny Batten show, and some other bits and pieces, some exclusive stuff. So if you'd like to support the show and the channel, then feel free to have a little browse, see if there's any stuff there. There's some baby stuff in there as well and all that sort of stuff. Interesting comment from Gaz, who's obviously a West Ham fan. He says, "I'm no Moyes fan, bruv, but he plays completely different game to what he did at Everton and United." And I think that falls into what you said. Yeah, very much.
And listen,
he just has evolved a bit.
He hasn't got the kind of players to do that. He hasn't got the big target man. He hasn't got the wide man. You know what I mean? For me, he's got players who want to play. He's got pace. You know what I mean? Now he's brought in the players. What he's got Jesse Lingard to mix things up. You think Jesse Lingard he's not going to get the ball to feet? He's not going to play long football. He's not going to play the old way that David Moyes used to like to play. So David Moyes has had to adapt. He's had to change. He's had to be successful. He's had to change his style, and he's changed it. So I've got to give him credit for that.
Interesting, though, mate, as well. Right? Is Jesse Lingard? How motivated is he going to be to try and get in that top four? Like potentially, West Ham could knock United out of the top four because Chelsea are doing quite well, and you've got some other teams there. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Gaz says Lingard's changed the game for him, which is interesting because he gets a lot of criticism. Gavin says he thinks Milan will do United. What else we got? There was another comment I was looking at and I can't find it. Reece, I am feeling a lot better than I was at the start of the week. Still sore, still in pain, but a lot better than I was. Right, let's get on to the second. Tell me why. That was the comment there. Reece says, let's be honest, you have to play a certain way at United. You have no real control over it. Mourinho tried to go defensive and got sacked. They expect attacking football, and I think that's interesting. Like, people slate Mourinho. My argument with Mourinho at United was, if you employ Jose Mourinho as your manager, you have to give him a shed load of money, and you have to accept that some games are going to be drab and boring, but you will win trophies. He won trophies. They stopped backing him after they won a couple of trophies, which to me, if you're not going to back him financially, you may as well sack him there and then.
Totally agree.
He needs that to do and play the way he plays, because he brings in players that he trusts and trust him, and who will play his way. That's the only way he can do it. He's not going to bring Greenwood through or McTominay through. And, that's another thing. Solskjaer, people criticise Solskjaer, rightly so. He has improved. He's turned Scott McTominay into a top 6 Premier League midfielder.
Yeah. Listen, I think about Mourinho's side that he's going to murder a cup final in the Carling Cup final because, or whatever call it cup final, because you think he's going to, on a big pitch, you think he's going to have attacking, expansive football, or he's going to get the result. He's going to get the job done. And would anybody surprised to see Tottenham lift that trophy? I wouldn't be surprised, because that's what he does. He's a born winner, and he seems to come alive in the big games, on the big stages. He did it again last night against Dynamo Zagreb. He does it all of the time.
Okay, the last bit on this now, just before we move to the next one. Gavin says United not finishing in the top 4. Wait and see. Here's a question though. On
Very
form, surely on form, Liverpool would be more likely to miss out on top 4 than United, wouldn't they?
Liverpool won't get in the top 4, in my opinion. I think.
Do we think West Ham are going to get there before Liverpool?
No. I don't think West Ham will get in it. I think they've had an amazing season. I think it'll be a big ask for them to get in. I think obviously Man City, Man United, Chelsea.
They're the 3 I think are guaranteed, aren't they?
And then you've got another one. And Spurs have got the players to do it as well. They're on good form.
The thing that Spurs have got is Gareth Bale coming into form, I think, isn't it?
But also the problem they've got, Si, is all the games that they've got coming up. You know what I mean? They've got cup finals coming up. They've got quarter-finals of Europa League, semi-finals of Europa League.
How close is it in the table?
Big games coming up.
So you've got Man City 68, United 54, Leicester 53, Chelsea 50.
Leicester as well.
West Ham 48. See, I think the top 4 as it is now will probably be how it finishes. So you've got Man City, United, Leicester, Chelsea.
Forgot about Leicester.
Chelsea may swap. I think Leicester, they're only a point behind United. I think United finished second, I got to be honest, because I look at all those other teams, and I think apart from Man City by far being the best and most consistent team, but I also think that Man United probably deserve to be second in the league as well. So
yeah.
It is what it is. Liverpool, I don't know what's going on with them. They've capitulated.
Yeah.
Here's a last quick question. Sorry, mate. I'm doing this on the fly, as you know, so it's like coming up. But Liverpool are 8th with 43 points. To me, they don't want to get in the Europa League. So what do they do now? Because to me, they're better off finishing, 8th, and then you miss out on the Europa League. Is that right?
Well, they're going for Champions League anyway, so for me, I think they'll put all their eggs in one basket. I think the league
and try and win the Champions League.
Win the Champions League to get in the Champions League.
How far can you go with that? Can you play youth players in the league? Your squad players and save all your best players for the...
You've got a 25-man squad in the Premier League, so you could save your 11 for the Champions League, and you could play the other 11 in the Premier League.
I would do that if I was Jurgen Klopp. I would play all my squad players in the league now, because I don't want to end up in the Europa League next year. They can then concentrate solely on the domestic cups next year. But it is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. Gavin's still holding hope that they finish in the top 4, though. Gotta love his optimism, if nothing else. Right. Second, tell me why, mate. Ready? This is a toughie, this one, so you need to pay attention. Hopefully, you've done your research on the subject that I haven't told you about. So it's going to be It's going to be very difficult for you. And the question is: the Scottish government could cancel the Old Firm clash. What does this mean for Scottish football?
I think that answer for me would have been very different if the league hadn't been won already, because now that game becomes irrelevant. If that game was still relevant, I guarantee it wouldn't have been cancelled, and that's how sad it is, because that game would have been needed. It would have been needed for the area. It would have been needed for the city of Glasgow, and Celtic would have needed it, and it would never have been cancelled. Rangers would have wanted it. I think it's sad. It's quite sad, and it just shows how much of a mess Scottish football is in, because I know that the lower leagues are just beginning again, and they're going to finish a shorter season. The women's are doing the same. It's not linked to the same as England, and I don't understand why. You know what I mean? We're in Britain. We've got the same restrictions. Welsh football started last week, the Premier League. So for me, the Scottish football should be in line with everything else. Doesn't make sense why it's not.
It's an interesting one. I think one of the main concerns they seem to have is when Rangers won the league. I don't know if you saw the game before they won the league, I saw a clip of the players arriving.
Yeah.
And all the people waiting for autographs and photos,
Yeah,
like the fans do. It was just like normal, as if it was like a normal Saturday. Like, that's the problem. And then, obviously, once they won the league and you had the celebrations, which I get, but, like, I can see, far be it from me, by the way, to stick up for the government or royal families or anything like this, but, like, come on. Like, you got to play the game, haven't you, with social distancing.
But then, isn't it irrelevant, though? Because does it matter if it's Rangers against Celtic? Because Rangers played St Mirren and the celebrations were massive. Rangers played Motherwell.
It's special,
you know what I mean?
isn't it? Like,
I understand that. But the Rangers fans, next home game, I guarantee you everything will be the same because the fans will turn out in the thousands to say well done to the players, and the players will listen. The players. I don't know if the players were out of order or not. You know what I mean? The players ran to the gate to celebrate with the fans, which I don't know if that was good or that was bad. They were opening the windows at the changing room to celebrate with the fans. I don't know if that's giving out the wrong idea, and you know what I mean. But listen, if I could turn the clock back, would I have done it? Of course I would, because it's you want to share it with people, and you know what I mean. You shared it with your friends and your teammates and your colleagues, but sharing it with supporters doesn't get any better than that.
So Lorna says, why is politics getting involved with football? I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because like the Scottish government have been very clear from the very first lockdown with football. I forget the lady's name. Someone will tell me in the chat. Who?
Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah, she said at the very start of the first lockdown she didn't want football to be on, but it was kind of, she had to go along with it, and she said if there's any breaches, or if when Celtic players and various other Scottish players did these things they shouldn't have been doing.
But there was loads side, because the Aberdeen
there was that guy, wasn't it, from Celtic who flew and saw his missus.
Yeah, so he flew to Spain to see his girlfriend. The Aberdeen players went on a night out, about 25 of them. The Celtic players went to Dubai. You know what I mean? So listen, it's just a load of rubbish, because everyone's gone against her, and it's still gone on.
Yeah, and she hasn't stuck to her words, but she has been consistent in saying that they will step in if they need to. Interesting one about the Aberdeen one, where the players went for a meal. Kev told us that on the Kev show that they stuck to the rules basically on that. They went for a meal, but the rules at that time where you were allowed to go for a meal and you could have to do certain things.
Yeah.
And they, social distancing and whatever the rules were at that point, they stuck to it. But they still got slaughtered, and it's a bit like, that's why no one knows where they stand, isn't it? Because the rules shift constantly. It's difficult as well, because like Rangers have waited so long for this.
Yeah.
So it's been very difficult to say to their fans.
It's hard as well. You've got a manager. You've got a manager who's never won a trophy in his life as a manager, and he wins his first trophy, massive trophy. You're going to tell him not to celebrate?
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
What a question. This is Riverside FC 2019 says, Andy, if you'd scored that goal in an empty Millennium Stadium, would it have been the same without the fans?
No, of course not. It would. Listen, a goal's a goal. I understand that, and I've probably said this on the show that I love scoring goals, and the feeling of scoring goals is amazing. But the feeling of scoring a goal for the over 40s is amazing. But the feeling of scoring a goal in front of 80,000 people in Cardiff for Cardiff, it doesn't. I can't explain the feeling. Do you know what I mean? It was absolutely surreal, absolutely amazing. So for me, I look at people who score now on a Saturday. I watch all the goals from Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two. Nobody celebrates anymore. I see it's sad. I feel really sorry for them, because it could be your last goal. That could be your last goal ever in professional football, and you're not celebrating it. That's sad.
Well, that boy scored yesterday, didn't he, against for Man United? He scored his first ever professional goal for United, aged 18 or 17, whatever he is, at Old Trafford against one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and he's got to run to an empty corner and celebrate. Do you know what I mean?
That should be 80,000
dreams of.
Yeah, it should be 80,000 fans. Imagine your first goal in your career is against AC Milan at Old Trafford. That should be full on a Thursday night. Doesn't matter what night it is. Everyone's that's what dreams are made of. But for me, it turns into a nightmare, because it's just horrible. I couldn't imagine it.
We also had a couple of suggestions, I think, for the Sheffield United job. The the German manager who's leaving after the Euros.
That's a good shout.
What's his name?
I know he always dresses very smart, and I can picture his face.
Scratchy nose.
Yeah, he likes to smell his fingers, doesn't he, after he scratches himself?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Frank Lampard, someone else said as well. Like, they're couple of good shouts. They are. I think Frank Lampard will wait it out. I do until.
Listen, I don't think Frank will take
Joachim Low.
I don't think Frank will take a championship job. I'll be honest. I think he'll wait for a Premier League job, because I think he did all right in the Premier League. Because if he goes to the Championship and he doesn't get promoted, he's putting himself under more pressure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Joachim Low, that could be quite an interesting job for him. But would he be looking for a bigger job than that? Maybe. I think
it depends if he knows the owners as well, though, doesn't he? It just depends, doesn't it? All depends.
Well, yeah, there's always that, isn't there? It's like if they've got a relationship with the owners, then it makes it a bit different, doesn't it? But we'll see. So let's talk some Championship, mate. Like you said, we had a bit more extra time to talk about some other stuff tonight because there was only a couple of midweek games. But we'll go club by club as ever. Oh, that's what I wanted to just quickly ask you. Bournemouth and Watford fined 10 grand each for failing to control their players after that brawl, after the final whistle. What's the point in that?
They're both Premier League clubs who got parachute money. So what's 10 grand? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Take points off them. Take points off them both. I think Cardiff Middlesbrough might get in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that would be handy, wouldn't it? But do you know what I mean? Like, it's pointless. It's like exactly. Absolutely pointless.
So it encourages teams to do it again. It encourages other teams to do it, because if that's the fine, 10 grand, then it doesn't matter.
What happened with Yannick Bolasie and Arnett Danjuma? Seemed to be something about abuse from online fans. Did you see this?
Yeah, Yannick Bolasie got racially abused on social media, and he put it.
Did he?
He put it out. Yeah, and listen, it's people who are hiding behind a false name, and it's pointless. I retweeted it. I you know what I mean. For me, when's it going to stop? That's what I wrote. When's it going to stop? And my full backing goes to Yannick, because I don't know the boy. I've always been a fan of his talents, of his football, and now he's playing for Middlesbrough. I like him even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sad, mate. I just find it frustrating. People, I don't know what it is. But they think they can get away with it because nothing ever happens, nothing ever changes, and that's what I think frustrates me. That's what frustrates me about that stupid 10 grand fine. The EFL are useless. Then you look at directly underneath that, you've got players being racially abused on social media. No one does anything, and I just kind of sick of it. Okay, so we start with Wycombe Wanderers, mate. We can give them a little bit of extra time this week.
I don't think they want any extra time, to be honest. They had a dreadful week. I watched bits of them against Stoke City, and Stoke absolutely wiped the floor with them. They had something like 37 shots on goal, and how it stayed at 2-0 was quite scary. And then they played QPR in the week, so they've had a really tough week as well. And I think we can finally say that I think they are going to go down. I think Gareth's battled really well, and now we're talking about another manager, Si, who's a very good manager, and I hope that the owners and the club and the fans stick by him as well, because he's done a great job for that football club to get him where they are.
Less than 12 months ago, mate.
Yeah, so listen, we've got to put him in the same bracket as Chris, and yeah, they've had a disappointing week, and I just hope that he can keep his squad together, and move on next season, and just enjoy the rest of the season, and just let his players just play with a bit of freedom, because they've had some really tough weeks. Yeah, they need the four
points.
Games
they may
now.
as well just go all out. No?
4 games, no goals. So you know what I mean. Go and enjoy some games, and go and enjoy trying to get some goals.
Absolutely, mate. Can't fault you. Next up, Sheffield Wednesday. They had a bad week.
Oh, they've had a really bad week. Yeah, shocking week.
They got mate.
Yeah, well, listen, the 7 games, 7 defeats. I just don't understand what's going on. They played Reading on Saturday. They got beat 3-0 very comfortably. They had a man sent off, which doesn't help after half an hour, and then a penalty. You know what I mean?
Was that the one that was an absolutely ridiculous, stupid?
It was blatant. Yeah, he was 1-on-1, and instead of just letting him shoot, you know what I mean? He's pulled him back, and I just don't get that, because
pointless.
He he might score anyway, but he might not. So you've got to take that risk. But you're like the defender, you know what I mean? You've got to see it from, you've got to be sensible, because now he gets himself a suspension. You're playing with 10 men. You're already getting beat, and there's always going to be a mountain to climb. Reading had to pick up after a few bad defeats, and so yeah, good result for Reading, but awful for Sheffield Wednesday. And listen, Si, we keep on saying this about churning the games for Sheffield Wednesday. Every game, every week, they're churning more games. They're now, 7 points away from safety? The games are running out fast. They need to sort it out very quickly.
Interesting. Riverside says Boris fight will be more after last Saturday, and Leslie says you get fined $10,000 for having an illegal party in your house, or whatever. So, like a football club getting fined $10,000 for that is just it's just pointless. No point.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. It's ridiculous, Sam.
Winds me up, mate. See, it's got me all het up now. Next up is Rotherham United.
They didn't play side due to COVID.
Didn't play at all, did they?
No.
Yeah, of course he was called off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Postponed versus Coventry. Yeah, they that might do them a favour though, because
it might do, but it might not do, because they've got
3 games in hand over Birmingham above.
But they've got to play them. They have to play them, and when they're going to fit them in.
Three games in hand.
EFL
that 9 points would take, if they was to win all 3. They would be like.
But the
right
EFL won't. The EFL
Forest.
won't look after them. The EFL will not fit them games in around them. They will have Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But then so will the other team as well, which is unfair.
Yeah, well, EFL don't care, mate. Next up, Birmingham.
Listen, I think it was expected. Yeah, they played one game. They got beat by Barnsley 1-0.
Everybody does.
Yeah, well, they seem to. You know what I mean? It's very, very. I spoke about Barnsley last year, so I didn't know about keeping clean sheets. Now they're starting to do it, and they're scoring goals to go with it sometimes. But won 1-0, deserved results. I watched the highlights. They were very dominant. I've never seen a team side. I said it last year. Barnsley create so many chances. It's scary. If they scored half of their chances, they'd be top of the league by a country mile. They create loads of chances. They just don't score the amount of goals what they create. The creativity is really good. If they had a 25 goal a season centre forward, they'd be right up there even further than what they are.
Oh yeah. It's next up is Coventry, mate.
Coventry played Wayne Rooney's derby. Was it? It was Saturday, yeah, and it was a horrific start by Derby, a mistake. And Buamo went through and smashed it home. And Derby have had a bad week, but I know we're going to go on to them soon. But Derby have had a bad week, but great result for Coventry. I think obviously they got beat by Middlesbrough in the last minute, so for them to pick up 3 points against a team in and around them was key, I think.
Yeah, I think so. They needed those points badly. Who have we got next?
Huddersfield.
Huddersfield.
I don't really know what I can say about Huddersfield. So I watched them obviously against Cardiff City, and I was bored to death of the way that they played. They didn't excite me. They set up negatively, even though they had 2 centre forwards playing, Fraser Campbell and Sonogo. Sonogo missed a penalty with about 7 or 8 minutes to go. Wasn't a great penalty. But I think a draw was probably a fair result. Nobody really dominated the game. Cardiff had probably a couple of the better chances overall, but yeah, not a great spectacle for a live Sky game on a Friday night.
I understand it though, mate. They need to stay up. They need to make sure they don't get dragged into the relegation. You're going up against the form Cardiff City team. You're not going to go all out to win, are you? You're going to just try and pinch a point, and I do get that.
Me too.
It's not a game you want to watch on a Friday night, is it?
No. I think Sky thought top versus bottom, or top half versus bottom half. It's going to be a good game, but they got that terribly wrong.
Oh yes. Next up was Derby County.
They got a great result against Barnsley midweek with a clean sheet and 0-0 draw. Not many teams go to Oakwell and get a result, but obviously losing against Coventry City for 1 point out of 2 games. I think Wayne will be a little bit disappointed, and I think they're quite lucky that the other teams didn't really pick up many points over the weekend, and they didn't get dragged into it even more. You know what I mean? They're sitting in 18th by 1 or 2 points ahead of other sides, so they just need a few more results, positive results, and Wayne will be all right. But I do believe that Derby have got too much quality to go down. There's too many teams at the bottom which are going to struggle, in my opinion.
Yeah, I meant to mention actually, in that Derby County versus Coventry game, Maxime Bayamau, I think his surname's pronounced, he scored the goal. Phenomenal finish, and
great goal.
He has been what a find and what a striker he's been for Coventry. Like, we've talked about Coventry and how they've impressed us this year, but they've needed him to score goals, and he's done. I'm not sure how many he's got totally, but he's picked up a couple of important ones. And
big goals.
Phenomenal finish.
He looked confident as well, Si. You know what I mean? Like driving
against
through
Derby, mate.
Finish,
You've got to take your chances, haven't you?
Yeah, it was a great finish.
Next up is Nottingham Forest. Sorry, Gary.
Nottingham Forest played. Who did they play? They played.
They one game, didn't they?
They played Nottingham Forest. Yeah, they got beat 1-0. Early game on Saturday. Not too much in the game, to be fair. I thought Nottingham Forest did all right because I watched parts of the game, but when Watford went ahead on the half-hour mark, I think it really dented Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest had a goal disallowed through Lyle Taylor towards the end for offside, but great finish. But Lyle Taylor, another player lacking massive confidence, doesn't play many minutes, come off the bench, didn't look the kind of player which the commentators were saying. You know what I mean? He's missed a lot of football and he's not playing regular. So Nottingham Forest, they just need to make sure that they do enough this year. A little bit like Huddersfield last year. Get up this year and you can look to progress next year.
Yeah, I had a chat with Gary Clark Boatsy, who's obviously an author as well and a Nottingham Forest fan, about Forest, and he said it's quite frustrating because they've got some phenomenal players, particularly going forward. They just haven't clicked this year at all. Like Joe Lolly had a phenomenal season last year and just hasn't got going, really hasn't been playing. You look at their strikers, they haven't really found that right partnership, but then you look at it on paper and you think, wow, they're going to score some goals this year.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't worked. But you wouldn't be surprised if next year they all suddenly clicked and...
Yeah. Well, listen, Si, we just spoke there about Barnsley. Barnsley create chances. If Nottingham Forest create chances like Barnsley create, they will score goals. So if they can get that link for creativity, Nottingham Forest could be very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Luton Town, mate.
It was always going to be. Yeah, it was always going to be tough. They were playing Norwich City away, and for me, Norwich blew them away. You know what I mean? A couple of goals up at half time, and Luton never really got into the game. They had a couple of half chances. I think they hit the post at 1-0, which could have got them back in the game. But it's timing of letting goals in. I think they let a goal in the second goal just before half time, and then against a good side like Norwich, you're up against it really, and you're really going to struggle.
Yeah, I was just having a look at some of the comments there, which we'll talk Cardiff in a minute. There's some interesting stuff. Look, Luton, I think, if they finished 16th where they are now in the league, they'll be phenomenal. So happy.
Oh, listen, they won't go down.
Not even worry about relegation. What a season.
It's a phenomenal season. Should be so proud.
Next up is Preston North End.
Yeah, they drew 1-1 with Bournemouth. I thought it was a decent game. I watched the highlights and a couple of mistakes for the couple of the goals. I think it was Cook was at fault for the Preston goal, which was a really tidy finish, but then a sloppy equaliser. But it's just about churning results, so you know what I mean? Because Preston are in a position where they're stuck in the middle of the table, and a few bad results could drag them into a relegation. A few positive results can get them into a fight for the playoffs. So they need to do the latter. They've got to be pushing towards the playoffs because Preston last year were phenomenal, always in the top six, and this year it's with better players, they're not performing as well. So it's a strange one.
Indeed it is. Gavin says that Coventry forward has scored. He's only scored 4 goals this year, but okay. I know he's scored at least another one where it was a winner, and that was such an important goal to beat Coventry City, to beat Derby 1-0. Yeah, is cracking result, and I think to finish with that confidence and that composure is a gift which not all strikers have. Blackburn Rovers up next, mate.
Yeah, they drew with Swansea on Sunday, I think it was. Bradley Dack scored. Great for Bradley, you know what I mean? Tuesday, sorry. Bradley scored the first goal. I'd love to have him on the show, so please, Bradley, if you're watching, come on the show.
Come on, brothers.
And then Swansea got their normal penalty equaliser, which is starting to be a trait. But yeah, Blackburn Rovers, they needed to pick up. You know what I mean? They went to Millwall at the weekend, got a win, so they are picking up the play tonight against Brentford, I believe. So it's you know what I mean? It's well, the way they're playing, you don't know, because the way Blackburn, a little bit like QPR, so unpredictable. But I think Brentford have to win. Have to.
Yeah. I see Blackburn picking up now towards the end of the season. They obviously they won and they drew this week. That was massive for them because they were going down the same route as Sheffield Wednesday.
The manager was going
ages.
As well. Si. The manager was getting sacked as well.
Yeah, Tony Mulray. He's in the thumbnail this week because I thought he was gonna go last week and he pulled out 4 points out of 6. You've got to take that, mate. Under pressure, that's good going. Next up is Bristol City. They did not have that bump from the new manager that they thought they were going to get, and they are, could they get dragged in? Just when I know they're quite high up the table compared to relegation, but I'm on about their form. Their form is relegation form.
Yeah. I think it is, but I think the manager's obviously going to. I mean, I watched them against Middlesbrough's first game in charge, and they were good. They were solid. That I seen enough to think that they weren't going to get dragged into it and go down. So I think if you can emulate that kind of performance in 2 or 3 more games for the rest of the season, they'll have enough points to stay up. So
do you think they're 10 points ahead of the?
Yeah, they won't go down.
21st club. I think that's probably too much, and
they won't.
Even if they were,
they won't go down. But it's worrying. But there's a reason why the manager got the sack side. You know, what I mean, it's not good enough for this club the size of Bristol City, for the amount of money and players they've got. They shouldn't be anywhere near where they are in the league. They should be towards the playoffs.
Rob Boyle says he thinks Bradley might be a bit busy at the moment.
And that's no excuse, by the way. That's not excuse. That's no excuse. No excuse.
Half time. Derby County, by the way, Derby County, QPR picked up another win this week. Only the one game on the 2 games. Sorry,
no,
Tuesday,
two. The big 2 wins up, 6 points out of 2. I can't work them outside. Listen, they lost 2 games last week. They win 2 this week. They beat Bristol City away and then QPR and then Wickham at home. They just defy belief. But yeah, I think those 2 games have just given them enough now to make them stay up. I think if they have a bad end to the season, if they have a good end to the season, they'll be looking up. You just don't know with them.
It's incredible, mate. Incredible. It's just all over the place with them. Next up is Millwall. Just the 1 game.
Yeah,
Saturday
Millwall played Blackburn. Got beat 2-0. I say we spoke how well Blackburn played, and it's disappointing for Millwall because Millwall went into the game with confidence, and you can't really afford to drop points at this stage of the season if you've got any aspirations to go where you want to go. And I think Millwall will be disappointed when they look back at the end of the season side, because dropping points against the likes of Blackburn at the time of the season, the way that they were playing, because they need really to be beating sides like that.
Rob says 2021 footballers running around while tweeting at the same time wouldn't surprise me. Oof. Cat in. Next up is Stoke. They only had the 1 game, beating Wickham 2-0. But I know Wickham is struggling. I thought Stoke were very good.
I thought they were.
Stoke were incredible this week. Great football.
Yeah, I thought they were absolutely fantastic. I thought the 2 goals were brilliant. I love the first one. You know, I'm going to talk about him later on, but it's the chances to create. That they were so dominant. 10 shots in the first half, 7 shots in the second half, dominated possession, clean sheet. Are Stoke going to get the consistency what they need to get them in the playoffs? That's
Could
what they
be
need.
The late runner?
They've got the players to do so, but they need to be consistent. They can't afford to. They can't afford to carry on the way that they've done all season, and that's been their downfall.
Right then. Next up is the mighty Middlesbrough, mate. Are we going to see a Warnock-like rant from you? Because Warnock was not happy.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He wasn't at all, and rightly so. Because I don't know if anybody's seen the game, but it was just after half time. Swansea were ahead 1-0 after a poor goal. Swansea scored a poor goal from Middlesbrough point of view. And the referee gave a free kick just as Bowler smashed the ball into the top corner. And he gave a free kick after the Swansea player tripped the Middlesbrough player up in the box. So it wasn't just a goal, which is disallowed. He also didn't give a penalty, which then was just an absolute travesty. I just couldn't believe what he'd done. Middlesbrough obviously went down the other end towards the end of the game. Last minute, got the equaliser, which was fantastic. And Swansea got given a penalty at the end. I thought it was a penalty. I watched it over and over. I still think it's a penalty. What the referee hasn't helped himself with on the penalty is he gave a corner. So, because the referee gave a corner, he's then given a penalty. He looks absolutely ridiculous, looks stupid. Just give yourself 5 seconds to compose yourself and give a penalty. It was a penalty. George Saville dived in the box. Shouldn't have done it. It's a penalty. He made contact. It's a penalty. But if you give a corner, when you give that penalty, you make yourself look absolutely stupid. He made himself look an absolute mug on Saturday afternoon, and rightly so. Neil's seething with him. He's not happy because if Middlesbrough got level at time, they got level. They had enough time in the game to go and win that game because Swansea didn't start the second half great. Middlesbrough dominated the possession, dominated the game, creating chances, but they just couldn't get that equaliser. And the longer the game went, and listen, Swansea get a penalty every single week, it seemed like. But in their defence, the Middlesbrough one, it was. And I'm a Middlesbrough fan, by the way. For me, it was a penalty.
Yeah, I thought it was. I did think it was a penalty. So next up is Cardiff. Just before we talk about the game, I wanted to talk about something quickly. The family of Emiliano Sala have launched legal action against Cardiff. They say it's to protect the family's legal rights pending the inquest's outcome. And it looks as though there's going to be some legal action. There's 13 people listed, including Mark Mackay, Willie Mackay, and some other people. I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I'll get Harry Harris back on either to talk to me and you, or I'll have a chat with him if you're not available, and we'll definitely talk about that because he will know the ins and outs of that, and he will have spoken to the family and stuff like that. So I'm going to get some form of interview with Harry as quick as I can, because that is could be really problematic for Cardiff, mate. That could, because they're going to have to pay that fee, which is what, 15 million, 25 million, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Plus, they could end up paying millions in, like, whether it's an out of court settlement or if they're being sued. It's difficult because of the contract, as we discussed before. But Cardiff, I'm just talking from a purely business point of view, like Cardiff could financially suffer.
Yeah, I could listen to that. It could be
best way to put it.
It could be a disaster. Obviously, Mehmet came on the show and told everybody how worrying the situation was with finance, and that's without this kind of bill, I'll call it, on top of it. And these kind of things could ruin football clubs. And I sincerely hope it doesn't happen because, listen. We're talking about life. Life is more important than football. Of course it is. But I'm not sure how the football club can be categorised with fault of what happened. You know what I mean? If anyone was getting sued, surely, and we spoke about this before, by the way, if anybody should be getting sued, we're on about the person who organised that flight. So if that's the agent, then sue the individuals, sue the people involved. How Cardiff City, just because they bought a footballer? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not sticking up for anyone. I'm not being disrespectful to anybody who's not here anymore. All I'm saying is there's people who should be accountable. I'm not sure. And
it's not Cardiff City.
I'm not sure. I don't think it is. And likewise, it's not Nantes as well. So
no. So Lorna said there. She said Cardiff should have paid for Salah straight away. Disgraceful behaviour from the club, dishonouring Salah and his family. To a certain extent, I agree. There's one issue with it. And that is that there was a problem with the contract. So I don't know if you've seen Lorna. I did multiple interviews with Harry Harris, who obviously wrote the book on it all. And we had Harry on the Monday show, and we obviously had Mehmet Dalman as well, who answered a lot of questions about it. But the issue with the contract is Emiliano Sala signed a contract, but it was rejected by the Premier League and sent back. But in the meantime, he'd gone to France to say his goodbyes and get his stuff. So he never signed the new contract, which would have then been accepted by the FA, and he would have been a Cardiff player. So Cardiff City have this issue with the payment in that the player wasn't officially signed. And there's two sides to it, isn't there? Like from a business point of view, the player wasn't signed. From a personal, humane point of view, you just pay it for me. But, I can also see that other side of it, where they're saying, well, it wasn't official and this, that and the other. But then I feel like, just me personally, I'm not speaking for Andy, I'm not speaking for the show, I do feel like if you're getting into semantics about stuff, then do you really know that you're in the wrong? I don't know. It's such a difficult one, and it's just a tragic circumstance all around. But yeah, I'll definitely 100% will speak to Harry very soon about that. So if you have any questions that you'd like to put to him, send them on social media via a private message or email me through the podcast page, and we can collate all those, all the questions, and I can put them to Harry. In terms of the game, mate, I was like, we talked about the quality of the game. There was a couple of things I was a bit disappointed by. One, I was very disappointed to see Bakuna not in the side after playing
surprised.
so well, because he does feel a bit like a confidence player, like we talked about with Murphy. So to come, I think it felt like a big moment for him to come back into the side and to grab those 2 goals, be back in midfield, making those runs forward.
Yeah. To get rested, if that's what we want to call it, after scoring 2 goals or rotated.
It's got to be frustrating.
I think it's disappointing. You know what I mean? Especially for me, I wouldn't have played one of the flair players, because that kind of game was always going to be a dogged game. It needs a tackle. You know what I mean? It was the battle, and what happened in the game is sometimes we won the battle, sometimes we lost the battle, but we didn't get the flair players on the ball enough. You know what I mean? The Josh Murphys, he did okay, but he didn't do enough in the game. Where Bakuna, for me, he would have got the game by the scruff of the neck. He would have got stuck in. We needed more players who were going to put the foot in and win battles, and I'm surprised Mick didn't pick more players like that to win that kind of game, because it doesn't matter at this stage of the season, Si. It's not about entertaining football. It's about getting the points on the board. And I don't care who he plays, which team he picks, as long as after that game, Cardiff City got the 3 points in the bag.
Yeah, I think one of the things with Bakuna particularly is, one, he played so well, but also we didn't have another game for a week.
Yeah.
So he had time to recover, because he would have played 2 games close together after a long break.
Yeah.
But obviously they lost Joe Bennett early on to injury. So you had
Bergen.
2 very young fullbacks in Bergen and
No,
Sang on the
Bergen
other
came
side.
off. Bergen came off, didn't he? Came off.
Bergen.
Dislocate shoulder. Dislocate shoulder, which went back in straight away. Which is great,
yeah, sorry,
but,
I get confused with the games. And then Brown come on, didn't he?
Yeah, so Bergen came off with dislocated shoulders. I hope he makes a quick recovery, because dislocated shoulders, they can always reoccur. You know, they always seem to come back and things. And sometimes they can come back worse. And once you do them once, they seem to happen again and again and again. And I remember Gary Croft did it quite a few times, and he's kept popping in and popping back out. And it's one of those things that you've got to be very aware of and very, very careful of, because playing a fullback as well, you take a lot of throw-ins. But yeah, it's a results business side, and a lot of people weren't happy about not getting the 3 points, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. You know what I mean? Huddersfield scored the penalty, Cardiff go away with nothing. So look at the positives. The positives are point. It's another game unbeaten for the manager, for the team, for the players, more confidence. They've got 2 home games coming up. 2 big home games, by the way, 2 big clubs. But Cardiff City, you've got enough in the armour, in the locker, on the squad, in the management to win both these games, or at least get 4 points. I think I'd be happy with 4, but I take it. I want
by the fact how these academy players are slotting in, though, mate. I think that is encouraging. Like, Bagan's looked good. Brown did all right, and I think someone just said in the chat, in the under-23s over this week, Mark Harris is looking sharp, and even Waters, who hasn't really been given a chance since being signed, he's looking sharp. Be interesting if they get Waters back in and around the squad. Seems like Mark Harris is the preferred option there. But the young players are doing pretty well, mate, aren't they?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see young players. You know what I mean? Cardiff City need to bring more through. You know, I can't remember the last time they brought through, apart from obviously Joe Rawls, I can't remember the last time they brought through an influx of players, apart from probably when I was there. So that's a long time. It's a long time, you know. So it's you know what I mean. It's the need to bring a few more players through, give them opportunities, but it's managers being able to trust them and put them in. You know what I mean, that's the biggest thing, because the quality is obviously there. That's why they're signed at football clubs, but it's getting them in the first team. You know what I mean? They can play this under-23 football, and this is where I see the problem. If they were playing regular, competitive reserve team football against other men, then the manager could trust them very quickly. But under-23 football is just not. It's not doing anyone any favours, unfortunately.
No. Quick question then. We've talked about, and I'll put this to the chat as well, particularly the Cardiff fans. We've talked about Josh Murphy being a confidence player. We said numerous times over the last year or so that he needs a run of games, 5-6 games. Tell him he's your guy. Tell him he's your guy. Mick McCarthy's done that.
Yeah.
How is Josh Murphy doing?
I think he's doing okay. I don't think he's doing as well as what he ended the season last year, but obviously they're playing a different way with different personnel. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders because of how he ended the season last season, and I think he needs to get back up to that level. I believe he can do it with more games, but I think there's certain games which weren't suited, and the Huddersfield game for me wasn't suited for that type of player. You know what I mean? It was just you could tell from the first minute he was never going to get involved in the game because of the way that they set it up, and they wanted to kill certain areas what Cardiff had and nullify what we did, and they did that really well. So you've got to give them credit as well. But when you're playing Watford and when you're playing Stoke City, you're going to get opportunities. You're going to get a chance to take people on. You're going to get areas to get in and behind. So I think in the bigger games where teams are going to attack, Cardiff will get more space.
Will says Murphy's doing really well at the moment, but wonder how he'll play when the crowds come back. Yeah, if you give the ball away,
I hope the crowd back him though. I hope the crowd back him because the crowd need these kind of players to start to entertain them. I love kind of play. Listen, Gavin White was one of my favourite players at Cardiff City, and look, he scored 2 goals last week for Hull City. You know what I mean, to win the game. I was delighted for him. You know what I mean, and I so wish that he was playing for Cardiff because with them losing Mendes Lang, there was an opportunity for him there to go and play more football, play more games, and show how good he was. But it wasn't to be. He's gone there to get some games, and he's shown how good he is because it's just cream always rises for me, and he's showed how good he was last weekend.
At the end of the day, players got to play not just in the right position and be given a run of games. It's about tactics as well, and it's suiting certain players. Like if you're a winger, an out-and-out winger who likes to beat a man, and your manager plays long ball football to the lone striker, doesn't really suit your game, does it?
No.
And like Craig says, Cardiff have got Murphy, Wilson, Ojo, Bakuna. You can only play sort of 2 behind them all. And they need to pick the right 2. But what it is not just picking the right 2, it's picking the right 2 for the right opponent. So Huddersfield, maybe Murphy wasn't the right guy. Maybe it was a Hoyler or a Bakuna, someone a bit more physical, Harry Wilson even maybe, who's got a bit of guile, rather than just beat a man. They needed someone with a bit of cleverness or a bit of physicality to break the deadlock. But should mention the keeper as well before we move on. Saved another penalty.
Yeah.
So that's three in a week.
Well, no, he didn't save it, did he? He went wide.
I was doing a show at the time, so I might.
He put it wide. I don't think he
put it wide, did he?
I don't think he touched it. I don't think he touched it.
Well, I'm going to say he touched it anyway.
He was in goal
because I'm not. Yeah, he was there. Rob asks, "Where's Lee Tomlin these days?"
He played for the 23s. He played for the 23s the other day and scored. I'm sure he scored. I watched him score a goal the other day.
Could be a big player for Cardiff in the last running. Like
if he gets himself fit,
him fit for the last 5 games of the season and the playoffs. Say if they were to get there, that could be a big lift for the squad because he is someone who can do something off the bench. Even if he has a bad game, he can score a free kick or he can do something a bit special, can he? Next up is Bournemouth, mate.
We spoke. Obviously, they played Preston North End away. Sloppy goal. Steve Cook gave it away. You know, he should be doing better. But yeah, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with that side because they need to get more points to get in the playoffs. You know, I mean, Barnsley have overtaken them. Obviously, Barnsley could have gone even further ahead of them, which is obviously good news for Cardiff and Middlesbrough that Barnsley didn't. But yeah, Bournemouth need to get back in those playoffs because they've underachieved this year because all the other teams who came down are solid in that top 3 at the minute.
Craig says Smithy saved a penalty this week. Next up is Barnsley, mate. Unstoppable Barnsley, I'm going to call them. They've had a player in my 2 up, 2 downs for the last 3 weeks, I think, or certainly the last 2. Will they have another one this week?
Yeah, well, they had 7 wins on the belt, and then Barnsley derby was 0-0. So I think they'll be disappointed with the midweek draw, but happy. You know, 4 points out 4 points out of 6 side on the run they were having, and another clean sheet as well. So I think they can't win all the games. You know, I mean, the run's phenomenal. They've got themselves in the playoffs. They've given themselves an opportunity to kick on. They play Bournemouth tomorrow, which will really test them away from home. But if they can come out with that unscathed, then they go to Wickham. Then they have that local derby against Sheffield Wednesday. The next 3 games for Barnsley are massive games.
quick question on Barnsley, mate. Daryl Dike is on loan from Orlando City. He scored 3 goals in 4 games. Is he proof that maybe Championship clubs should look to the US for talent on loan or to sign, rather than overpaying for Premier League for players who haven't made it in the Premier League?
Well, listen, there's talent all over the world, which I think gets just overlooked, and I think that's the thing for me. I think some clubs always look at players who get released by Premier League clubs, and they overpay them and give them an opportunity, because there's people in non-league football who deserve an opportunity. There's people in different countries who deserve an opportunity, and I think it's about the recruitment team getting that job done properly. And Barnsley have brought in a manager for the MLS, which is proving to be a success. So, you know what I mean? He's brought players with him. So
here's another question then, which I've just thought of. And obviously, you're involved with Black Diamond and stuff like that, so you've got a bit of an insight into this as well as an ex-player. Like, to me, a scouting team, there's no excuse if a scouting team is literally not scouring the world in 2021, when you've got the technology and live streaming, and there's so many ways for you to study players' stats and all this stuff, to study players and watch players without leaving your house. There's no excuse for not checking everywhere to find young talent for your team, surely.
I don't believe there is. I do believe. I don't believe there's enough people doing that job, though, Si. You know what I mean? One person can only look so many times and can only watch so many games in a day. You know what I mean? So for me, people need more people doing that job and looking in these different areas. You know what I mean? Because for me, look at the younger talent, look at younger players, and then get them over as soon as you can, and then work with them, work on them, give them that opportunity. You know what I mean? Because there's an opportunity of a Dyche could have come to England and not settled in straight away. It could have taken him 6 months to adapt to the weather, to the lifestyle, to what's going on, and that would have been a different scenario and that might happen to somebody else. And I think teams are scared of that factor. And it's creating a problem and causing a problem. So sometimes they stick to their own and don't bother with these work permits, and obviously now Brexit as well. So Brexit's going to cause a problem with overseas players because of what's going on. So it's, you know, I mean, politics again is going to have to get involved in football, unfortunately, and this is going to cause problems.
Yeah, Reece makes a good point there. He says it doesn't matter where the players come from; it's about finding a player who suits your style of play. Sadly, Swansea are proof of this. They know what they need and they go and get it. And I think.
I totally agree, Si.
We've talked about Cardiff, we've talked about Liverpool, we've talked about Man United, we talked about numerous clubs ignoring the issues that they've got, the glaring issues, where like Cardiff not signing a right back for so long.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to just look at the problem and address it. If you haven't got much money, address it in a cheap way. Go down to the non-league and sign the best right back in the non-league. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't just ignore it because you can't afford to.
Reece is bang on. You can go back to Swansea, and I'm going back to when I played. That when they first brought in Roberto Martinez and the other Spanish players, that they didn't care. They got them in because they were the best players at the time, and they wanted to go down a route of playing tidy football. And since then, if it wasn't for those players coming in, they would never have got that style of football, because they've helped and they made that possible.
And those Spanish players wouldn't have got the same opportunity in Spain. In La Liga.
No, that's why they came to England.
So they came to the Championship.
Yeah. I don't even think it was a Championship, was it? I'm sure it was League Two.
No,
League Two at the time, wasn't it?
Reece followed up that point. He says a Cardiff scouting team, they signed Callum Patterson as a right back, and Neil Warner, the lad, cannot defend, so we'll try him up top. That is incredible to me. Cardiff took a long time to sign Kiefer Moore as well. Next up, Reading.
They've had a good week. They've had a few good games recently. They won 3-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, it helped when Sheffield Wednesday had a man sent off straight away for the penalty, but then they blew them away second half side. There, a couple of goals are scored. They created chances. Lucas Jow back in the goals, which is great for them. And I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but it was a really good goal by Yidom. I thought he was very good. He set Lucas Jow's goal up as well. He just had pace to burn and create problems. He got brought off last couple of minutes, and those kind of moments you want to get brought off and have a standing ovation from the fans, but he didn't get that opportunity. But he'll enjoy it and he'll move on to the next game. And and cause problems. But he had a great game.
You just mentioned them just now, and they are doing quite well. They're next.
Yeah.
They beat Middlesbrough 2-1. Then they drew with Blackburn 1-4, 4 points from the week. They did all right.
Yeah, Swansea. Listen, they've had a good week. They've had a really good week. They beat Middlesbrough. They got the job done over the line. Last kick of the game with a penalty. Another penalty against Blackburn Rovers. They're just doing enough side to stay where they are. But for me, if they want to get further up, they've got to win games. You look, Brentford are winning tonight, so it's going to put more pressure on them tomorrow. It's going to be tough.
We move
it's
on
a battle.
To Brentford, mate.
It's a battle.
Brentford play winning 1-0 at the moment.
Yeah, obviously they're winning. They're winning today. Norwich beat them. Oh, they didn't play the weekend, so this is their first game.
No, it's just the Norwich game in the midweek.
No, they didn't play Norwich midweek. They played on the 3rd.
Oh, of course, the 3rd, yeah. So Brentford haven't played until...
No, they were supposed to play Rotherham, weren't they?
Of course, yeah. So, so they're winning at the moment via, I think it was a penalty. So I thought I saw in the chat.
Yeah,
next up then is Watford.
Yeah, Watford beat Nottingham Forest 1-0.
Good
nothing
result.
in the game, very tight game, yeah, but another clean sheet side there. They've got a solid team. You know what I mean? They've got the span of the team. It's just absolutely perfect. Hughes plays a huge role. I love Sarr on the wing. Semmer on the wing as well. Andre Gray, big fan. You know what I mean? Causes problems. Nottingham Forest just couldn't create chances. Couldn't get the equaliser. And yeah, I think Watford are picking up a little bit at the minute. They've won 4 out of the last 5. The only time they lost was obviously the game which was the trouble against Bournemouth. So they're in a good place at the minute.
Yeah, they look like they're getting a bit of momentum, don't they, Watford? It'll be interesting. Looks like they might be the team to follow Norwich at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be some more twists and turns along the way, my friend. Norwich just had they had 2 games this week, or just the one? Just the one.
No, just the one. They beat, Saturday they beat Luton 3-0 very comfortably. Pookie scored 2 again. He's on fire. And Campbell scored as well. I'm a huge fan of him. He was in my 2-ups last week. Listen, they're a very dangerous outfit, and if they don't go up this year, I'll be very surprised. It'll take a massive, disastrous end of the season for Norwich not to get promoted or win the league.
Yeah, and I think they've had their wobble as well. Is the other thing, like you said, Swansea are kind of doing just about enough at the moment, and I think they've had a bit of a wobble. Norwich have had their wobble. Watford didn't have the greatest of starts, but are now really getting some momentum. Brentford had a wobble, and they just haven't quite been able to get that same form that they had before the wobble, which I think is probably it's going to be out of those teams at the moment. I'd probably go with Watford. Next with Pookie, he scored 8 goals in his last 7 games. It's 9 goals, in his last 7 games now, because he scored 2, didn't he? So, what a phenomenal player. So let's move to the 2 ups, 2 downs, mate. Why not? In the chat, let us know who's your 2 up and 2 down from the championship this week. Let's start with the negative. Downs, who you got first, mate?
I've gone for let me just get his name right. It is the centre forward for Huddersfield, and it's Sanogo's penalty. I thought it was absolutely awful in a game where they really needed to win. You know what I mean? Make the keeper work, make the keeper do some work, and save the penalty. You know what I mean? Hit the target. You've got to hit the target. You don't get many chances in the game, and for me, when you've still got Fraser Campbell on the pitch as well, you've got to hit the target because you've got better players than yourself taking it. So, Yannick Sanogo gets my first down.
Yeah, and I think as well as that is the fact when you're playing a team which is banging form, you've got to take your chances, haven't you? And Cardiff weren't very good on the night, but they are one of the form teams at the moment, so it's take your chances. A penalty it's got to be, you've got to hit the target at the very least. Disappointing. My first down is Borna from Sheffield Wednesday. Thought it was a really silly sending off, needless. Obviously gets a ban and all that. And Sheffield Wednesday, worried about them, mate, I got to say.
Yeah,
really
totally agree.
Concerned with them.
Totally agree.
They look like they're dead and buried, which I'm going to discuss a bit further in a minute. Who's your second down, mate?
My second down is Mr. Ward, the referee between Swansea and Middlesbrough. I thought it was absolutely disgusting the way that he disallowed that goal. You know what I mean? If you if you aren't 100%, you cannot give something that you can't guess. You know what I mean? At this time of the season, at these stages, in these games, the fine margins, you start guessing on a football pitch, then we're in trouble. You know what I mean? Because I speak about not wanting VAR, and I don't. But when you've got a referee who makes an error that big in a football match, then something needs to be done about it, because managers can't talk to referees. Referees should come out after a game and discuss why you give that decision, so you can get questioned on it, because players get it, managers get it, and I think it's out of order. Because for me, he's made that much of a mistake. He should be demoted this weekend, because that was awful, really bad.
It was not good, was it? So I've gone for my second down, mate, and I don't say this with any pleasure. Sheffield Wednesday and Wycombe. They're going down with a whimper at the moment. Wycombe just don't look good enough. And Sheffield Wednesday, mate, they're bordering on disgrace for me. Let's not forget they had those 6 points back. So it's not like they had those 6 points deducted and that's why they're struggling. They are down there because they have been dreadful. And some of those players, some of the people at that club need to take a long, hard look at themselves, because not good enough at all. If I was a Wednesday fan, I'd be fuming.
Totally agree.
So we've had a couple of people sending in their ups and downs. We got Craig says, first up, good positive news about Sol Bamba. Cracking, good shout, my friend. Matthew Angel says 2 ups. Kiefer Player of the Month, Mick McCarthy Manager of the Month.
Don't want it. Don't want that kiss
It's
of
a
death.
curse. Leslie Coates says you can only hit the target in front of you, Andy. He also said earlier you could only beat what's in front of you.
That's true though. You can only beat what's in front of you.
Well, I'm expecting him now to say the league table doesn't lie, and then he's got pretty much the hat trick of cliches. Will says Tom Yang, my up, made his first team debut and didn't put a foot out of place. Yeah, I thought he was excellent.
And I seen a good tweet as well. It was Tom's mum put a tweet out of the whole family watching the TV, and I thought that was amazing, by the way, because it's just something that my mum would do. So I loved it.
Yeah, his dad's put a tweet out as well with his shirt from the game, all signed by the players and that, which I thought was cool. Matthew Angel says 2 downs, Joe Bent injury, and same as Andy, that ref was way out of his league. Rob Boyle says wish Mick McCarthy didn't get Manager of the Month because it's a curse. Reese, I'll come back to the questions in a minute. Yeah, so Wycombe out of the death, but no disgrace, and that's why I was separating the two. I said Wycombe just not good enough.
Yeah,
but Sheffield Wednesday for me, I think, got to have a look at themselves. They got to give their head a wobble, as they say, and because some of those players are international footballers, so to be as bad as they've been is not good enough. So let's move to the more positive. Leslie Coates says the league table doesn't lie. Hat trick. Who's your first up, mate?
My first up is Reece Norrington Davies from Stoke City. I thought his goal was outstanding. He played a 1-2 on the edge of the box with a centre forward and just calmly put it in against Wycombe. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and it's nice for young players to get opportunities and to get goals as well. It's icing on the cake.
Spot on, mate. I went with Maxime Bayamau of Coventry just because I loved that finish, mate. The composure and the quality of it was superb. Massive goal for Coventry to beat Derby, and I'm been very impressed with the way they've conducted themselves over the season to be where they are, having come up with a very small squad, a very small club, not playing at home. I think it's good. So there you go. Second up for you, mate.
I've tried, but I can't see past Pookie because he scored another 2 goals at the weekend, and I've given him quite a lot. But when you've scored that many goals in so little games, you've got to get
9
the
goals in 7.
You know what I mean? It's listen. Without those goals, Norwich wouldn't be where they are, and you know what I mean. Yes, to keep clean sheets, but we spoke about Barnsley creating chances. We spoke about other team creating chances. Norwich don't create that many chances. They just seem to score every shot. So it's credit to the centre forwards that they've got. It's credit to him. Yeah. He was scoring goals in the Premier League last year, so I'm not surprised that he's scoring goals. I'm surprised he's still there, and he's stuck by Norwich City. But sometimes people love football clubs and want to stay, and he seems like he's one of them.
I was stuck between three players for this one for my second up, and Pukki was one of them. I thought you might go for him, and then the other two was Lucas João, has scored 21 goals for Reading this year. He's been superb, been a real catalyst for what they've been able to put together. We talked about their seasons have been very formulaic over the last couple of years. They start off like on fire, they go to pieces, then they have a little turnaround around Christmas, then they sort of ease off into the summer. This year they've been pretty consistent all the way through. And then Yaya Dom of Reading also, I thought his assist for João's goal and his goal himself was superb. So in the end, I'm going to go with Yaya Dom, I think. Just to give him a bit of recognition.
Great shout.
The strikers always get all the glory.
Yeah, great shout.
And I thought Yaya Dom's assist was superb and his goal was even better. So we're going to finish off with some questions then, guys. Just so if you have got any questions, feel free to ask them. Reset one in just now, so I'm going to go back to that. He says, Andy, when the manager says a ref has had a bad performance, they get a fine. Do pundits or ex-footballers get asked not to say anything or warned?
No. Listen, I think the good thing about it is freedom of speech. I think I don't know why managers aren't allowed that, as long as they don't be personal. You know what I mean? For me, I think they should be allowed to say about somebody's performance, because if you're allowed to say about your own team that Andy Campbell didn't play well today, I thought his performance was a disgrace, so I brought him off. Well, does he get a fine for that? No, he doesn't. But if I say Andre Ward had a bad game as a referee, I thought his performance was disgraceful, I get a fine. What's the difference? There's no difference whatsoever. I've just changed the name. So for me, I think there's got to be some kind of leeway. It's such a grey area. Pundits, some of them are quite controversial, that they enjoy giving those negative comments. They enjoy pouncing on those and waiting for those moments of poor officiating. But for me, when a referee makes those kind of errors in a game, he deserves to stick all he gets. You know what I mean? Because how he slept on Saturday night would be beyond me.
No, happy. Going all the way back to earlier on in the show, Craig Sullivan said, on the 50th anniversary of Brian Clark versus Real Madrid, the atmosphere was electric apparently. How bad would it have been if it was just an empty Ninian Park?
Oh, listen, I played a few reserve games and training games on an empty Ninian Park, and it was dull. It was boring. I didn't enjoy any one of them. You know what I mean? The only times I enjoyed every game at Cardiff City when there was supporters there, because it didn't really matter who they were playing against. If it was a night game, it was always electric. You know what I mean? Under the lights was always amazing. On a Saturday, if they were playing the team who brought a decent number of away fans, the atmosphere was amazing because of that. So the games anywhere where I played any kind of reserve team as a experienced player. Were horrific. I probably only got through it as a young player because I was excited to play at a big stadium for the first time, but that wears off after you've done it a couple of times.
Yeah, 100%. Lorna says the referees seem to be making a lot of mistakes lately, and I agree with that completely. The standard of refereeing in the Championship particularly, but also in the Premier League, has been piss poor recently.
Yeah.
It really has been bad. I think VAR is to blame for that, and I don't mean VAR necessarily in any particular specific way. Just mean generally, I think VAR has made referees lazy in the moment.
I agree.
Not necessarily,
I agree with that comment 100%. I also believe that the ref should be mic'd up so we can hear what's getting said, what's going on, because I'd love to hear a conversation between two officials saying, "You make it because I've not got a clue what's going on." You know what I mean? Because I'm not making it. I'm not making this call. You know what I mean? They've both got to be aligned. Everyone's got to be aligned, and they're not. You can just tell that people are saying, "I think you need to look at that again." Well, if I've got to look at it again, you tell me you're telling me it's not a goal. So just tell me it's not a goal, and I won't look at it again, and we can get the game going through it a little bit earlier. It's a shambles. The whole thing is an absolute mess.
Yeah,
I'm not happy. You can tell I'm not happy
tonight.
I'm
Leslie
not happy,
says you look tired. You look shattered. He says I look fresh as Daisy. It's just, I've got youth on my side. That's the problem.
Yeah, and schools have been back all week as well. That's not put me in a good place, by the way.
Absolutely. So just a couple of scheduling notes over the next few days. Tomorrow I'm going to do a flash live wrestling show, maybe. I'm doing a wrestling show with Andrew, but I'm not sure if it's going to be live or recorded. If it's recorded, it'll be out Sunday morning. If it's live, it'll be out about 5-6 o'clock tomorrow night. Sunday, first episode of My Story, featuring Gary Boatsy Clark. He talks about some of the naughty things he's done. He talks about some of the books he's written, and kind of how he turned his life around. And it's a really interesting discussion with a lovely man. And I urge you all to check that out. That's episode number 1 of that. We've got football agents coming up on that. We've got authors, we've got actors, we've got footballers, all sorts of stuff. Of course, we've got the Andy Campbell Football Show on Monday, mate. 7:30 kickoff. Who is joining us?
Oh, listen, I've been working on this one for a while, so I've got one of my old partners in crime at Middlesbrough, Chris Freestone. I learnt so much from Chris. You know what I mean? I'm so excited because Chris has had a very different career to the normal path of a professional footballer. He came into football late, as you know what I mean, you'll all hear on Monday. But his rise to football, his career after football, working for the FA, being a manager. Listen, he's a very talented man. He speaks really well. He's a funny guy, and he's just an all round generally just a lovely fella. I really can't wait to speak to him because a little bit worried because he might have a few stories about me. But hey ho.
There was a question I just saw then. Leslie asked, why not fine the ref if he gets a serious decision wrong, like the Boro goal, just like they remove a red or yellow card to basically correct a mistake? Like, why can't a ref be fined? I think there's one problem with that, is players don't get fined for bad performances or mistakes. They do get dropped and they get criticised. So I feel like referees should be open to criticism from managers, players, pundits, as long as it stays strictly on their performance. I don't believe they should get any sort of fine if they mention the referees after the game, because they get asked those questions. They have to do that. Media, it's not a choice. The FA and the football club tell them you have to send someone for an interview after the game. That's fine, but don't then fine me because I answered the questions.
And this is where, aside from me, that the referees are a team, like the manager's a team. So the manager goes in the changing room, speaks to his players, then comes out and does his interview. The referees go into the referees' room. So you've got a referee, 2 officials, 2 linesmen, or whatever you want to call them nowadays. So old school linesmen, and a 4th official. So one of those 4 should come out and explain what's just happened on that football pitch. So if that's the 4th official, I don't care who comes out. But as long as he answers the questions which the reporter asks him, so the Middlesbrough game on Saturday, why did he give a free kick? He's able to answer it. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm not having it. Do you know what? We'll do a show on that side, because I think that's it might be a good one. So we'll do it. It's just today is obviously every other Friday when I don't have. That makes me. She's been good as goal, by the way, so I can't really fault.
You don't even know she's there, mate.
Yeah, I know, it's great. But people obviously know that I'm not where I'm normally, because you can't see the thing behind. So, but I think it's a good idea. I'd like to talk about it, because I don't really talk about sometimes the stuff that I've got very often. So yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to people who ask questions. So yeah, we'll find a slot somehow.
Indeed, mate. Indeed, there'll be. You never know when certain things happen later in the year. There might be things like weekly question and answers and all sorts of different stuff. Little videos here and there.
Yeah, let's find a slot.
Exclusive podcasts. Maybe there'll even be like a podcast between me, you, and Kev one day. You never know. It's almost like there's things in the pipeline working you just don't know about.
Yeah.
Wait and see. If I ever launch the thing, it's like waiting for me. It could be like 2026. It's because I'm not getting into it now. I worry that people won't.
You just worry.
Involved. I worry. Yeah, I like things to go a certain way. But guys, thank you for joining us as ever.
Yeah.
This is very much appreciated. Enjoying interacting with you guys.
Yeah,
talking footy, answering the questions. And I always enjoy looking at the messages at the end of the show where you just all kind of say how you've enjoyed the shows, which is always good. Donna, Reese, Gaz, Matthew, a few other people. Gaz says he's part of the nightly ritual, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I appreciate that, mate. That's hardcore viewing. That is.
It
3
is.
shows a week.
And you know what,
really
Si? We need it as well, you know, because we do this for people, and we want it to grow, and you know what I mean, for this show to get better. The bigger the show is, the better the guests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
so
I think at the end of the day, the hardcore viewers, the ones which all these guys which I'm putting like up on screen now, and I'm not in like I might miss someone or whatever, but I just generally mean all these guys and girls who watch every Monday, every Friday, interact with us, ask us questions, ask the guests questions. If we haven't got you guys doing that, then it's a whole different show. It's not the same show. Yes, we could still do the show and we could interview the guests and we can talk about the championship, but it wouldn't be the same
I agree.
you guys. Last couple of questions. Lorna says, you guys need to do a live show where we can be in a live audience. That would be like a 6-hour show.
It would be. We'd have to start at 5 o'clock. We'd have to.
Well, there was talk a couple of weeks ago of doing like me and you do a show, and then me and Kev do a show, and then we finish with like the three of us doing like a little question and answer thing. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I'll be knackered. I'll be like falling over by the end of that. Leslie says, when you come to Middlesbrough, when things go back to normal, basically.
Yeah.
As soon as stuff's back to normal, we're going to
when Boris allows it.
Indeed, it's been a slow week indeed. GD Parry says slow week, no football, but I think it's back to normal next week. So, Kelly says August. I don't know what she's referring to. Is that the name of your new dog, Kelly? Is that when your birthday is? I don't know.
Yeah, I
is
think
that when things go back to normal?
I better not be August. I thought we were April. I thought it was April.
Is that when the Euros? Is that when the Euros start?
Don't give me all doom and gloom now. No, that's it. No, that's next season, isn't it? August.
She says things go back to normal.
Huh.
That'd be nice. It's my wife's birthday around then, and the Euros will be on as well, where we'll be doing some stuff. Garance just mentioned he needs to get a haircut. Someone asked a question. I don't know who it was.
Get one of mine.
But someone earlier on in the show asked, have you noticed how all the players have all got fresh trims and stuff? How is that possible when all the barbers and hairdressers are closed? And you can't meet anyone. You could only meet people outside. So
I cut my own hair. I cut my own hair.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these footballers are not cutting their own hair, though, are they?
I'm no comment. I don't know. I wouldn't like to
speculate.
Say what's. Yeah, I wouldn't like to. I don't think it's a.
You wouldn't like to imply that all these footballers are breaking the rules.
No, I wouldn't like to. But I know I'm not, and I'm cutting my own.
I know
either that's falling out.
I am, however, going to see my mum tomorrow for the first time in about 18 months. I'm
nice.
Quite excited.
I like that. That's emotional. That.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be emotional.
Good, have a nice day.
And we're going to end on that one.
Yeah, look good. I like
Enjoy it. Look after your mothers and your wives and your girlfriends and everything.
Happy Mother's Day to all those lovely mothers out there.
Indeed. Appreciate the women in your life. That's what I say. We'll be back Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. Rob Boyle, live wrestling show probably. Keep a lookout on social media. Spread the word. There's definitely a show out on Sunday. Maybe even 2. But appreciate the support, guys. Have a great weekend. Have a great Mother's Day. But most importantly, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so we wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.